Little Judy Garland, yeah. That movie was made in the 1940s, and that song was written specifically for that movie, which was Meet Me in St. Louis. And that's where she met Vincent Minnelli. And they later, of course, got married and had Liza. And the Christmas song is from the past, obviously, and we still sing it today in the present, and I'm sure we'll continue to sing it into the future. So a little past, present, and future in our music this morning as we are continuing, of course, our exploration of Dickens' A Christmas Story and its metaphysical, spiritual, and universal truths. My talk this week is The Ghost of Christmases Yet to Come. Yet to come. If you've been with us all month, you know that Scrooge has already been visited by his dead partner, Jacob Marley, who warned him that he would see 3 more ghosts before this was over, and that he needed to listen and change his ways so that he would not have in death the experience that Jacob was having of dragging those chains around the earth. And so he saw the ghost of Christmas past, and his past, and the ghost of Christmas present, and what was going on right now, what he was missing out on. And so now he's going to meet the ghost of Christmas yet to come. What do you think this ghost of the yet to come, the ghost of the future, has to say to Mr. Scrooge? Well, it turns out nothing, actually, because he's silent. He doesn't say anything. All he does is point and look spooky. He looks a little bit like the Grim Reaper, and he just points, right? He doesn't really say anything. And he just leaves old Scrooge to his own thoughts. Now, that can be hellish in and of itself, can't it? Yeah, so he gets to make up his own stories about what he's seen and hearing as he's on this tour in the future. And none of it turns out to be very pleasant. It's not a very pleasant tour. And he knows he's seen things in the future, but it's not making a lot of sense to him. It's not making a lot of sense. He's not seeing himself in any of these scenes in the future. So he's not quite sure what's happening. The first stop is at the business center, and it comes across the businessman, and he goes, "Oh, I know this place. I know this place." And they go up close, and they're listening to these guys talking, and they're talking about some guy that just died, and how nobody was going to go to his funeral. Nobody liked him. He was mean and miserly and unfriendly and unkind, and who would go to his funeral? And then they said, "What happened to his money? Who got his money?" And one guy said, "Well, I'm sure it wasn't me, but, I would go to his funeral if lunch was served." Of course. So Scrooge could not figure out who they were talking about, though. He thought, well, could it be Marley? Well, no, this is the future. Marley died in the past. It couldn't be him. So I don't know who this is. And the ghost then just let him stand there for a minute and contemplate, and he's still kind of scratching his head. And so the ghost takes him now over to Old Joe's pawn shop. And about the time they arrive, in walks the laundress, the housekeeper, and the assistant undertaker, and they're all carrying bundles. And they're laughing about this guy that had just died. He had all this money. He died all alone. There was nobody there. We could take whatever we wanted. The housekeeper took some of the silver and things out of the house, and the laundress took the bed sheets, the blankets, and the curtains, and all that kind of stuff. She even took his silk shirt off of him because calico was good enough for him. Yeah, calico's good enough for him. This silk shirt's got some value, right? She wanted to pawn that. And the undertaker took some of the personal effects that they had put on the body to bury him. So they plundered and they stole and they laughed about it. And Scrooge is watching all this and he's going, wow, this guy must have been really, really bad, right? Really, really bad. And he's thinking, who is it that died? Who could this be that died? Well, the next thing you know, he's standing by the dead guy's bedside. And he's got the sheet over him because the laundress took everything else, right? He's got the sheet over him. And the ghost is pointing to the head, like pull the cover down. And Scrooge is going, And he gets really afraid because he's beginning to sense that maybe the dead guy's him. He's starting to think that maybe that's the case. But he's still a little confused because he believes that the ghost of the past and the present convinced him to change his ways, and this would not be his future. So he can't figure out why the ghost is showing him this future if in fact he was going to, I'm going to change my ways based on those other two ghosts. I don't need to see all this negative stuff. So he's really beginning to question if he can really change his future like Marley suggested. Or maybe he cannot. Maybe this is what it's going to be. It's too late. In the science of mind, of course, we teach the universal law of cause and effect, that we set the causes in our life, the effects basically in our life, in action, in motion today, that we're going to experience tomorrow. And the law is proven by where we are and what our life is today and the way that we've lived up until this point. All of the choices, the behaviors, the activities, and the actions and everything that we've taken to this point, good, bad, or indifferent, is how we've gotten to where we are right here now, this present moment. And what we're doing now is what's going to indicate our future, right? That's how the law of cause and effect works. The ghost of the future is the one that's really the most terrifying for Scrooge because A, he looks pretty spooky, right? Looks like the Grim Reaper. And he's taken him in to see things that Scrooge recognizes the truth of, right? Because that is who he has been. That is who he has been. So this is really scary for him. And that question of, can I really change and impact my life through my behaviors today, is weighing heavy on him. Looking into our past, of course, if you've ever done that pleasant experience, can create remorse, can it? It can create regret of what we've done or not done or could have done differently. And looking at the future requires that we look at the present. If you've ever made investments and you want to know how they're going to do, what do they tell you? Look at the past's performance to see how the future is going to perform, right? And then we also teach that paradoxical thing in Science of Mind that says the past is not, the law is not bound by precedent. Precedent does not establish principle, or however that goes. But anyway, it's kind of a paradox for us. It's kind of a paradox for us. So our future, Scrooge's future, is the effect of today's actions in the present. It is the effect of today's actions in the present. And he's recalling how he treated Fred, his nephew. He wasn't very kind to him, was he? How he treated Bob, his clerk. How he treated people on the street. You know, in the book it says that even the people that had assistive animals that were blind, not the animals blind, the people who were blind and had assistive animals, the animals would take them off the street when Scrooge came by because he was so mean. Even the animals knew. So the way that he treated people, his meanness, his miserliness, could it be that he needed the vision, the experience to see that future to really get the importance of changing his present behavior. You know, if any of us have, New Year's is coming up. Anybody going to plan to make a food change in their life this year, right? Daniel talked about that a little bit. You know, and we think, oh, I could just cheat a little bit, right? I just cheat a little bit. I can have a little bit of ice cream, or I can have a little bit of chocolate. It'll be okay. Well, no. And that's what this is telling us, is that when we commit to making a change, we need to make that change. Because tinkering in it still is going to give us that other future, right? It's going to give us that other future. We're going to be at the same place next year we are this year. So Scrooge says to the ghost, "Let me see some tenderness connected with any death, or that dark chamber I just came from is going to be forever present with me. Show me some tenderness." So he takes him to the Cratchit's house. And Scrooge immediately notices that the family is not jovial like they were in the Christmas present that he went to before. They're very solemn, they're very quiet. And he discovers that Tiny Tim has died. Tiny Tim has just died. You remember, Scrooge really was attracted to Tiny Tim. He had a soft spot in his heart come up for Tim. The family was very, very sad for his death, and they talked about how they picked out a beautiful plot for his burial, and it was green and grassy, and they promised him that they would walk every Sunday and visit his grave. And Bob went upstairs because if you know history, the families used to keep the body in the home until it was buried. And so Bob went up and sat next to Tim for a few minutes and just talked to him a little bit and gave him a kiss on the cheek and told him that he loved him. And as they were leaving the Cratchit's house, Scrooge realized that it might be nearing the time for the ghost to depart. And he said, "Please tell me, who was that man that we saw lying dead? Who was that?" Because he still doesn't know for sure. He thinks, but he still doesn't know for sure. Rather than answer him, because our ghost is still silent, he took him to the churchyard, to the graveyard. And as they went in, it's kind of a dark place, and it's overgrown with weeds and grass and stuff, and the graves are really close together, and it just has a sense of being untended, uncared for. And Scrooge thinks to himself, that's a perfect place for that wretched person to be buried. This is the perfect place. And the ghost points to a headstone, and as Scrooge starts to walk toward it, he pauses and he asks the ghost, "Are these shadows of the things that will be, or are they shadows of things that may be only?" Still no answer from our tight-lipped ghost. He just keeps pointing. So Scrooge says, "Men's courses will foreshadow certain ends, to which, if persevered in, they must lead. But if the courses be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus with what you have shown me." Still silence from the ghost and only finger pointing, and Scrooge had no choice but to go to the headstone and read, "Ebenezer Scrooge." And the light of realization dawned, to which he said, "Am I that man who lay upon the bed?" The finger pointed from the grave to him. "No, Spirit, no! Spirit, hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been but for this meeting. Why show me this if I'm past all hope?" For the first time the hand appeared to shake. "Good Spirit, your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life." The hand kind of trembled. "I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me I may sponge away the writing on this stone." Holding up his hands in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a bedpost. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living and the author of The Science of Mind, the text that we teach from, wrote a book called A New Design for Living. And in that he said, "We can see that any fear of what tomorrow may bring rests largely in what we fear today. In other words, since our thought is creative, since it is the mold of our experience, how could tomorrow hold anything that would be fearful to us? The only possible way for the future to become a thing to be feared is if we are creating that condition in our thinking today." Holmes is reminding us of the creative power of fear in our lives. We know that it is done unto us as we believe, and if we believe in fear, and that's the most powerful emotion that we carry, then that's what we're going to be creating, calling forward is more fear. If we're enthusiastic and excited about something that we're calling in, that enthusiasm and that positive emotion is what will be the creative work in our lives. And Scrooge feared, we have to believe, he feared being poor more than he wanted relationships in his life. And that's why he manifested the life that he had, all of the wealth that he possessed. And he lost Belle, his fiancée, remember? He lost Belle because of it. Fred, his nephew, any possibility of friends or family because he was mean and miserly. And he wasn't well respected in town. In the end, he is shown that the death that he could experience was based on the life choices that he was living and had been living. He was alone, unloved, and his money couldn't even bring him comfort in his death. No one came except the thieves to plunder his wealth. In life, Tiny Tim represented joy and was forever blessing others with his songs, with his words, and he didn't allow his life to be limited by his disability. He lived life to the fullest. He was happy and joy-filled. Scrooge, on the other hand, weighed everything by its profit. How much profit is this going to be to me? This is a good relationship, then there's profit in it for me. If it's not, then bah humbug, right? And joy was a waste of time, and Christmas was a waste of money. Bah humbug. In death, Scrooge died alone, robbed, while Tim was surrounded by his loving family. The ghost of Christmas future was silent because the future is not set in stone. It can be changed. That's why the ghost never spoke. It was up to Scrooge to use his memory, his thought, to interpret that and to gain his own lessons. The future did not speak. It showed some potential, some possibilities based on the way Scrooge had been living. He was seeing his behavior mirrored or reflected back to him, right? We know that too. That's also a truth that we teach. When we boil this whole thing down, I came up with 3 basic ideas of the science of mind out of this visit of the ghost of Christmas yet to come. So let's wrap up today with our spiritual practices and see how we can use them to create the future that we desire. The first is the law of circulation, and Scrooge really exemplifies this law in action, doesn't he? He hoards, he is miserly, and he's mean. So he's like stopping the flow. We see that how his mean and miserly ways could not help him in death, but left him robbed and alone, friendless, gossiped about, laughed at. The law of circulation states that everything moves in circles. And if you think about it, our earth is moving right now, right? It's moving in a circle right now. Our circulation in our body is circular. Our breathing is that circulation again also. And the same is true with our wealth, our money, our health, our love, our joy, our peace, our kindness. We did a whole month on kindness last month, and we recognized how that circulates back to us. Remember the boomerang video that we saw? This week, our practice is giving a little extra wherever you go. Giving a little extra wherever you go. Give a little more joy. Give a bigger smile or a more frequent smile. Give a little extra money. Give more love. Give more kindness. And watch for the areas where you have resistance to that. Watch for the areas you have resistance. If you're resistant to giving love or being love, look at in your life where you may be lacking some love. If it's money, if you're holding back a little bit on the money, look in your life where money's not flowing. Look in your life where money's not flowing. These are the areas that will be creating stagnation in your life. Number 2 is the law of reflection. We know that life reflects back to us who and what we are. Scrooge saw this with the ghost of the future, with his death, with all the things that he was seeing being reflected back to him as he was recalling his past and his present. Who he had been, how he had grown up, what he was missing out on in the present, and now this future death that he was seeing was a possibility for him. This week, consider how your actions reflect on you. and how it now and into your future. Ask if this choice, this thought, or this behavior, is it reflecting my dreams or is it reflecting my demons? Is it reflecting my dreams or is it reflecting my demons? Is having that piece of chocolate really reflecting my dreams of a hot body for next January? Okay? There you go. There you go. Make it real. Make it real. The law of cause and effect is our third one, and it is done as you believe. And that's a basic tenet of the science of mind. It is according to our beliefs. It is according to our beliefs that we call into us that which we're going to experience. If we believe we're going to experience good, we will call in the good. If we believe we're always going to get the short end of the stick, and that's just how life is, that's what we're going to experience, right? That's what we're going to experience. And again, we are who we are today because of this law, because of what we've done in the past. And we have the opportunity to make those changes, set those intentions in the present, which was perfect with Daniel. We didn't talk about this, it was a God thing. But it's in the present to set these intentions. You can't set them in the future, right? Can't set them in the future. This week, pick one thing that you want to focus on. Just one thing. Maybe it's abundance. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's love. Use your affirmations. Use your prayer work. And watch more of it manifest in your life. Watch more of it manifest in your life. Proving this law of cause and effect in your life. Because I know it works. And I know when you focus on it in that manner and when we do our work, it works, right? It works. And I can't wait to hear what you've manifested. So bring your stories next week. So old Scrooge has had a visit in the past, had a visit in the future, in the present, and a good look at what might be if he doesn't change. You know, Marley wasn't enough, was it? Marley didn't scare him quite enough. He needed these other experiences to really get his attention. Will he change his ways? Can he change his ways? Got to come back next week and see for the grand finale. So we're going to close it out today with a quote that I found from a lady named Agnes Perot. And she says, Christmas is the tenderness of the past, the courage for the present, and the hope for the future. Yeah. So would you join me in a prayer as we anchor this morning? How good it is that we gather together in joy and celebration, recognizing that there is one power, one presence, one life, and that life is God. It is love and harmony and joy and peace. It is all of the laws that we talk about, circulation and reflection, cause and effect. All of those are God in action. It is the way the universe works. It is orderly and ordered, but it is on a foundation of love. For love so loved that it created. And what it created is you and I. We are manifestations of that one power, that one presence, that one love. Whole, perfect, and complete in this manifestation right here, right now. And we are those God qualities. And we have the ability to use those laws. They act automatically according to our beliefs. And so knowing this, I speak my word for and about each of us, knowing this day, the absolute truth of our being, our wholeness, our oneness, our infinite perfection in God as God. The life of God is our life right here, right now. And so I know for whatever we may be remembering, recalling in the past, whatever we may be experiencing in the present, whatever we may be fearing in the future, that we can take these lessons written so long ago by Charles Dickens and bring them into our lives and use this knowledge and this wisdom to set our intentions in this moment for our lives, for creating the life of our dream, the life of our future, the life of our right now. For that is all we have, is this now moment. And so I know this day, for anyone that has anything on their heart, as they lift that into the conscious awareness of this prayer, that we know that whatever needs to be healed is healed, that whatever needs to be revealed, whatever truth, whatever wisdom, whatever clarity is done so with perfection in ways that are easy to understand. And that if there's greater abundance and circulation and flow desired, that comes. It's already here. It's pressing against us, awaiting our acknowledgement and acceptance of it. And I know the perfect unfoldment of and revelation of our health, for we are whole, perfect, and complete in the love of God. And so it is with great joy, gratitude, and thanksgiving that I release this into the action of law, the action of mind, for I know it's already done with great confidence. For I could not speak these words were they already not made manifest in the mind of God. We await their manifestation in form. I call it good, and so it is.